What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on in NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Stephen Hyde, Gate City Sports Channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, as requested, guys, today's topic, we're going to talk about the defense. I went back to take a look at some advanced analytics that kind of help me with support with the film studies portion of what I do. I couldn't even get to the film study because of what I found out. It's going to be frustrating, guys. So just get ready. We're gonna talk a lot about what's going on with this team. So I've heard some commentators talking recently, and they're talking about how, the key to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're talking about the relationship between offense and defense, and saying that the defense is putting the offense in some pretty tough positions by disrupting the rhythm by allowing teams to go on 12 to 15 play drives, 90 plus yards, and put points on the board. Like, it's going to disrupt the rhythm of your offense if you keep allowing that to happen. So I was kind of looking underneath the theory of okay, we need to get off of the field on third down. Clearly, that must be a problem. That's what started the whole thing that I'm about to reveal to you today. And I got to be honest with y'all. I'm frustrated after looking at the numbers because there are some definitive numbers here that do matter, right? So defense on third down efficiency, guys, 25th overall in the league currently through 7 weeks. 5.6, so round that up and say 6 first downs per game. Third down conversions, I should say, 6 third down conversions on average if you round up are occurring. Compared to 2020, it was 5, so we were allowing one less last year at this pace. But when I filtered through the last 3 games, I saw that it was 5th overall. Not 5th overall, I apologize, guys. 5 overall, so an even 5, even with what was happening in 2020. And that got me thinking, because that puts us 20th in the league, from 25th to 20th if you look over the last 3 games. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So let me dig a little deeper here. What is happening? Why are these numbers reflecting? Because it's not what I expected to see. It's bad. Like 25th in the league overall, and still even in your improvement, you're still 20th, which is still the bottom third. It's at the top of the bottom third, but it's bottom third. I mean, those aren't good numbers. I started digging a little deeper, and I got to be honest with you guys. The defensive side of the football is frustrating to break down because there are good things, we need to improve things, and there are what is happening things going on here. So to begin with, some of the things I noticed, guys, over the last 3 games, on third down, we had 3 sacks alone in the Carolina game on third down, right? From 3 separate players. Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, and Josh Sweat all got in for sacks in that Carolina game on third down. In the Tampa Bay game, we had 1 interception by Anthony Harris that stood. We had another interception that got reversed. It at least was we held them and we got the ball back, and it was in the first half of the game. But it did get reversed, and that probably would have been a momentum swing there, and it was when Epps had his hands on the ball on one of them. And then last week's game, we did have an interception on actual third down, on the third down play. So, I mean, there's 3 sacks and 2 interceptions and over the last 3 games on third down. So, I mean, that would lead to tell you that, hey, we can hold teams at third down. This defense is opportunistic enough to either get a sack, an interception, something. They can come away with something. I mean, we're seeing some signs of that. But then I started digging in deeper. So here's what my theory was, guys, to start with. I thought, what? I bet you teams are converting in the first half or in the first 3 quarters of games. And then they're not converting as much in the fourth quarter because they're taking their foot off the pedal, right? That's what I thought. It's all right, let me go through, let me confirm this before I put that out there. And I realized, that's not exactly true, actually. It's not true at all, because if I look at pretty much, they were 5 of 15 in the Carolina game, Carolina was. Tampa Bay had the best conversion, which was 7 of 13, which is a little over 50%. And then, there was 3 of 9 from the Las Vegas Raiders, which is not very good. Carolina and the Raiders were 33%, which is pretty good overall. But the story's deeper than that. We played pretty good against Carolina. There's no doubt about it. We held them to under 20 points. We had 3 sacks. We created turnovers in that game. We did some things, man. We definitely did some things in that Carolina game. So I'm not even going to front about that one. It was a good defensive performance. But when I broke down the numbers against Tampa Bay, it's a little misleading because, yes, we had the interception from Harris. We had another interception we could have turned around. They were only 3 of 6, 50% in the first half, and that means that they were actually better in the second half than the first half. And although people say, we weren't really in that game, yeah, we kind of were, guys. Anytime you get the game down to 1 score and there is an opportunity to win it, you're in the game. Whether it's because of your play or your opponent's lack of play, they were in the game. It's just that it wasn't anything we did. It was their lack of execution. They kept us in the game in Tampa Bay. But the numbers start to swing in Tampa Bay. That really caused me to start paying attention to what was happening. Because when you look at third down, although we stopped them on a couple occasions on third down, the next resulting play resulted in points. So, yes, technically on the stat sheet, we held on third down, but the subsequent play was a touchdown on one instance and a field goal on the other. So that was 10 points off of third down conversion ratio stops, efficiency stops. That's a little misleading, right? You could say 7-13, we held Tom Brady to right around 50%, just over 50%. That's pretty good for that explosive offense, but it's like, yeah, but even in holding on third down, we gave them opportunities on fourth down to still get points. So, one way, yeah, to me, that's not a good number. But that's not even the most startling thing I found out from this defense, guys. The most startling thing I found out from this defense is when I looked into the Oakland game, because I keep calling them Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders game. Because they were 3 of 9. I was like, man, I felt like they were way better than that offensively in that game. It just felt like we were completely overmatched by them, our defense on their offense. I was like, that just doesn't seem right. So I went back through, I checked everything, like, no, they're right. I mean, you look at the first half, and they did execute, guys. I mean, they were 3 of 5 in the first half, which basically means they didn't convert a single third down in the second half of the football game. Hold on before we start pounding our chest and saying, oh, 0 for 4 in the second half. We were coming around, the scheme's working. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm gonna hit the pause button for y'all right there. There were two possessions in a row in the first half of the Las Vegas Raiders game where they didn't even get to third down because they were converting before that. 2 in a row. It started at the end of the first quarter into the second quarter, and then the subsequent possession after that one in the second quarter, they didn't even need to get to third down because they just marched the ball down our throats like that. That's a problem, guys. Oh, cherry on top, 2 possessions between the end of the first quarter going into the second quarter, and then the subsequent possession in the second quarter. Then fast forward to the first possession of the second half, first possession of the third quarter for the Las Vegas Raiders, and guess what? They didn't need possessions to go to third down. Not a single third down possession. They just drove the ball right down our throats. Yeah, we need to get off the field. I agree with that subsequent point. I just don't agree that it's necessarily third down. It's overall. Like, there's too much going on here. Like, I do think that, look, I think people are overblowing the Fletcher Cox comments, no doubt about it. Like, we all know that Fletcher Cox would rather play in a system with a one-gap scheme. I highly doubt Fletcher Cox would sign back with the Eagles because he loves the Eagles. I'm pretty sure he doesn't dislike the coaching staff. I don't think he likes their system, though. He doesn't want a 2-gap. He doesn't want to read and react, and he certainly doesn't like the fact that the linebackers don't come into the gap to get players off of them. When you look at that Fletcher Cox quote, guys, what was really said, if you read between the lines, where he says, look, I'm tired of having 600 to 700 pounds leaned up against me all game long. Read between the lines what he's saying here. He's saying he doesn't like the 2-gap, and he wants to play more 1-gap scheme. He wants to be able to attack. He wants to fight back. It's the words he used. He wants to push back. He wants to fight back more. He's also pointing out the fact that in order to fight back and to do more, he needs the linebackers to fill the gaps. He needs the linebackers to stop playing 4 yards, 5 yards deep, waiting until offensive linemen get to the second level to engage them before they try to make a play on the ball, which I don't know if that's just the linebackers reading slowly, and I highly doubt that. I think that's a scheme. I think it's what Gannon's telling him. He'd rather give up the 4 or 5 yards on a run than to risk something getting over top of the head of the linebackers in the intermediate area of the field. I think that's by design. I think Fletcher Cox is right to point this out, and I think the numbers that I just looked at support it. I think he's got a point here, guys. And like I said, I think it's being overblown. I don't think that Fletcher, because you got to understand what people are saying and what that says about Fletcher Cox. They're saying that Fletch hates this coaching staff. Basically, he's going to shut it down. You're basically accusing this man of being unprofessional. Fletcher Cox is not unprofessional. I don't have a doubt that Fletcher Cox is going to represent the name on the back of his jersey. To me, that's a ridiculous statement for people to make. But I also understand that Fletch is clearly frustrated, and with reason to be frustrated with this defense. These are not good numbers, guys. I don't even know how to start to express how frustrating looking at these numbers are. There were 3 possessions in the Las Vegas Raiders game where they didn't even need to get to third down. 2 of them in a row, and one to kick off the third quarter. They were all pretty much bunched together. They basically stepped on our necks between the beginning of the second quarter to the first possession of the third quarter. They stepped on our necks and drove the ball on us. That's a problem, guys. We've got to play more aggressively. We've got to do more. I understand that Gannon has a system. I understand what he's trying to say. I get the principles and the concepts of what he's saying, which is, hey, don't give up the big play. Make teams drive. He does have a record to show. If you make teams drive the ball long enough, you probably will get home with a sack. You probably will get a turnover. But, man, you got to mix it up more than this. There's got to be some times where you bring run blitzes. There's got to be times where you just bring pressure on the quarterback, period. We can't just keep setting back here doing this. Like, I'm sorry. I know that Jonathan Gannon's a smart guy. I'm not doubting him, and I'm not calling for him to be fired, guys. Don't mistake what's being said here. But what I am saying is that when you have teams that are getting possession of the football and scoring every time they touch the ball except for maybe one possession, there's no one on the couch right now that can't come in and do the same job. So why are you hired then? I'm not calling for them to be fired. I'm just saying be mindful of your scheme. Because anybody can step in, whether they've ever caught a play or not, and have a pretty good shot at the same success rate. It's ridiculous. Something's got to happen defensively, guys. This is nuts. These numbers are crazy to look at on paper. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all's time and attention, guys. I'm frustrated. I'm about to jump off here, man. I'll see y'all in the next video, guys. One more video. I'm going to break down another aspect of the defense, guys. All right, y'all. Peace.